Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of For Checking TV. I'm your host, Doug Glacky, and as you can tell, no co-host today. Recording a quick little thing in the middle of the day here. We got Hunter Hodies from Locked On Penguins joining me today. Hunter, how we doing, man?
Doing good, man. It's October, starts tomorrow. Hockey's coming, and I'll be buying my ESPN Plus subscription any day now after what that report came out today.
Yeah, actually, what's crazy is ESPN Plus is the only streaming service that I don't pay for. I pay for everything else in my family, but it's in like my parents' cable subscription. So I'm really looking forward to using that. So
My girlfriend pays for Hulu. My parents pay for Disney Plus for the entire family. So I'll stick my neck out and pay for ESPN Plus, $60 for a year. I don't care.
yeah, you have to. And honestly, man, the craziest thing was like even before they got the licensing agreement, some of the games they had on ESPN Plus years prior were really good,
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to have like hockey in my fingertips like nonstop. But anyways, double recording this week because I feel like we didn't really touch a whole lot of substance on the Penguins in our last recording. But big thing I wanted to ask you, Hunter, to start was what are your thoughts on the first preseason game and who really surprised you that you weren't expecting to make a big impact in that game?
I never really care about preseason results. You're playing among mostly AHL and prospects in your game. I mean, you get shut out. Who cares, right? But I like the effort level. They were out shooting Columbus, I think, 12-2, 13-2 by the end of the first period. JF Berube, who has been around, I think the Flyers had him, the Islanders had
Mhm.
him. I want to say Colorado has had him too, but I'm not
Yeah.
really. I think he was there. He's been bouncing around the league. He made some really nice saves with the Blue Jackets. I thought Cam Lee looked really good. He had about six shots on goal. Seemed really crafty with the puck. Was creating his own shooting lanes, which I know I haven't really seen him do before. He's probably going to start the season in Wilkes-Barre, though. He was a player that before camp I had the thought of maybe he could squeeze out a roster spot. But as of right now, with what the defense is looking like, and you separated the two groups with 48 players remaining on the roster, it's looking like he's probably going to be one of the last few cuts that this team will make. But I liked him. I liked Nathan Legary. His speed really jumped out at me, I thought, in that game. That was one knock on him, I think, coming out was that he wasn't that fast. He always had that nice release, had decent playmaking ability, but his release was the biggest thing that everyone talked about. But it seems like he's gotten much more smoother and more crisp as a skater, and he was using that to his advantage. I thought POJ looked great. I don't really know what's going to happen with him. He might have to start the season in Wilkes-Barre due to just the roadblock on defense with Matheson, Pedersen, and Dumoulin all blocking him right now. Everyone can thank Jim Rutherford for acquiring Mike Matheson to just block POJ down in the minors because, he deserves, I think, to play to start this season. Brian Dumoulin said as such in training camp. They want him to play. Chris Letang has said as such, I think, as well, that he's really impressed him because they were skating in the summer with his brother Matthew. I think a couple other players. I think Jonathan Huberdeau was also skating with them as well. But he looked really good, and he's ready to me. I think he'll come up at some point. I was hoping that maybe they could do something with, like how John Marino burst onto the scene. They traded away Eric Goodranson. Could they do the same with Mike Matheson? Not really sure. Remember, Ron Hextall really has no loyalty to this player, so he could really just do what he wants, I guess. Let me see. I thought Poulin looked good in the first period. Kasperi Kapanen was really just, he was mainly going up against AHL prospects, but he was knifing through guys left and right, skating circles around them. Obviously the best player on the ice. Mike Sullivan's statement about him after the game was really telling. He thinks he can be an elite player in this league. I want to see if his underlying numbers get better this year, and it's not just his very high shooting percentage because he shot around 16% last year. I think that was the main reason why he was so good. Hopefully that doesn't regress and that his numbers go up with, underlying wise. But those were the players I thought really jumped out at me in that game, at least.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought Kapanen up because I was reading those quotes from Mike Sullivan. Um, yesterday, and I'm sitting there reading it, and I can't help but think to myself that he's trying to turn Kasperi Kapanen into like that Phil Kessel type player, because you see it like whenever you watch, um like just watch like a package of like Kasperi Kapanen goals. A lot of them are coming down the wing off the rush, just like how Kessel would score during his time here in Pittsburgh. You know, I mean, he has that shooting ability, he has that talent. It's just trying to make him into the full package. And I think that with Sullivan saying like sometimes it's like I gotta lay into the guy, give him some tough love, but he gets it. He knows how much we believe in him and how the fact, and like he literally said this word for word. He's like he's doing everything in his power to turn him into an elite player.
Yeah. No, I mean it's not a statement I expected to read after the game. That's for sure. I definitely could see a little Phil Kessel role, but that's the thing. Do they want to put him on his own line like they kind of did with Kessel in the 2016 run? I'm not sure, just because him and Gino have really good chemistry, but Phil and Gino also did for a brief time before. They would always have their little differences on the bench and stuff, but um, we'll have to see if he can really put it all together this year, because Kessel, he had that 90-point season in Pittsburgh that one year, and he was, I think, a 60, 70-point player. Some of his other years, point per game player in the playoffs. I don't know if Kapanen has that in him. Maybe he can get close, but it's a lot to ask, I think, of him right now to be like that kind of player.
But then again, with where this team's at right now, if he's even just a 45 to 50 point player, we're like that's going to do wonders for this team.
Yeah.
And I think that he's a guy, as much as people like him with Malkin, I love the idea of him having his own third line with Jeff Carter. I think that he played really well with Carter down the stretch at times. That third wheel for them was either Jason Zucker or Jared McCann. And, try Zucker there. I imagine that's going to be like your second line with Malkin out is Zucker, Carter, and Kapanen. So like if they have such a chemistry developed once everybody gets healthy and Malkin's ready to come back, just keep that line together, because I see no reason that Malkin couldn't play with like Dan Heinen or Brock McGinn or whoever it may be at the time. He might even be playing with Brian Rust. Who knows? So that's something I'd really like them to explore, is giving Cappy his own line, because if this team were to make the playoffs, that's probably their best chance at having like maximized scoring depth, in my opinion.
Yeah, Carter, Kapanen, and Zucker line would be kind of fun, especially if they do something with Gensel, Crosby, Rust, and then Malkin with maybe Heinen and whoever else they want to throw on his right wing. I know they seem to be intrigued by the Brock McGinn line with Teddy Bluger and Zach Aston-Reese when healthy. I think they want to recreate the Aston-Reese Bluger Tanev line, just because they see McGinn as the defensive equivalent to Tanev, and they're hoping that he can provide more of an offensive punch than Tanev. I mean, McGinn outscored him last year. The underlying numbers with both of them offensively, it's pretty neck and neck. Actually, when it comes to percentile stuff, I think Tanev actually finished higher in the expected goals percentile last year, though he just didn't get rewarded enough as much as McGinn did. So I think that's what they're looking at right now. It makes the team deeper, but then you could always go out and get another forward at the deadline if they choose to. If Ron Hextall wants to kind of reward the team like he said he did last year when he went out and got Carter. He basically said the team was playing so well, we wanted to reward them with a player that we think could get them to another Stanley Cup. So I could definitely see that happening too if they want to go out and get another top 9 winger or top 9 forward like they did last year.
Yeah, and I'll even say this: I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. If he goes down to the AHL and tears it up, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that around deadline time, Nathan Legare is up in the NHL, playing some sort of a prominent top 9 role.
That makes a lot of sense too. I mean, if he's using his speed and he's scoring a bunch of goals at will. He can probably be one of the first call ups around the trade deadline, or when the team inevitably hits an injury spell, which they do every single year. It's the Penguins, for God's sake. He'll be definitely, I think, one of the first players to be called up.
Yeah, and we were talking about this whenever we were recording last night. It looks like they're very close to getting another wave of talent up from Wilkes-Barre, similar to what they had in the 2015-16 season that helped them like spark plug that cup run. Because Drew O'Connor, I think if he's able to go down to the AHL and just play down there and get consistent reps, I think that he can get back to where he was before he left Dartmouth. Obviously he came into professional hockey in a very unique situation with COVID and everything and being on the taxi squad. And I feel like that he really hasn't had a lot of time to like truly develop, and I mean, Cam Lee, Will Riley on defense, those are two guys that could come up and be contributors. You have POJ knocking on the door. And then you still have Legare and Poland, who, maybe not this year, but next year, definitely probably going to be their time to compete for an NHL roster spot.
I mean, I think you have a point there. We definitely, I think, are close to the next wave of talent. You have Cam Lee down there who, like I said, he's going to be a call up, I think, at some point. You said POJ, Legare, some Poulin. I think Jordy Bellervie, he's a dark horse candidate. He's been doing pretty well, I think, throughout his career in Wilkes-Barre. Josh Maniscalco, he was signed, I think, by Rutherford out of college I think he was an undrafted agent out of college. So he's going to continue to get work down there. Justin Almeida just got reassigned. So there's definitely some good talent down there. It's just a matter of, just how good are they? You brought up Drew O'Connor. That makes a lot of sense. He probably didn't look NHL ready last year just because he didn't have as much development. They put him down to Wilkes-Barre. He played all right. But I feel like if you're putting him on the team this year, that's not really doing him any good just because he's not going to play on an every night basis. I think he would just be on the bench almost every game. So I feel like you might see him start in Wilkes-Barre just to help his development along. And then he'll also be, I think, one of the first call-ups when the team inevitably hits an injury spell. I didn't really like his game a lot last year. I thought he was always a bit slow to the puck. I didn't like his play on the offensive zone. Mm-hmm. Even defensively, he didn't seem that good. But, it was also a 56-game season. So how much can you really draw from that? I feel like he wasn't in the lineup every night. He was also playing 6-7 minutes, and sometimes even less than that, just because Mike Sullivan would always shorten the bench when the team was down. So it's good that he's practicing in the top group right now. If he's cut, though, I think he will be. It'll probably be the last possible cut to get down to the 23-man roster.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, I think a big thing that O'Connor might need to work on is just learning on using his size. Like he's 6'3", he's a big dude. He has that reach. He needs to just be able to use that, maybe create like a little niche for him as like a defensive forward, because he's probably not going to be a top 6 forward. We know that. I think he's more suited as like a bottom 6 depth winger. And I think, that's something he's going to have to adjust to, similar to what Zach Aston Reese had to do, because, just like Aston Reese, when he was signed out of college, people thought that he was going to be this big, talented guy that had all this scoring prowess. And now it's like he needs to just transform his game a little bit at the professional level.
Yeah, I think that's really the big thing for him, is just getting more acquainted to the NHL level. We'll see how he does in these preseason games. Maybe I'll eat some crow and he looks NHL ready and it makes it a harder decision for the Penguins. But as of right now, I think he'll probably start the season Wilkes-Barre, and that's good for a young player because he can continue to get reps. I would say the same thing about POJ. I wouldn't want him up here if he's just going to be sitting in the press box every night while a defenseman with 5 more years left on his contract is taking a spot. He's not really learning anything. You want a young player like that to get as many reps as they can And then, if they make a trade or something, or Mike Matheson or one of the other defensemen, God forbid, gets hurt, then you can bring him up and play him as many minutes as you want and see if he is actually ready in that instance. I'll never believe in bringing up a young player just for the sake of it and then just having them ride the bench. I don't like that at all. I do think, some people have hated Dom Simone for a while. He's going to be on the team. I mean, he looks good in training camp, seems to look good in the preseason. He's always been a good playmaker. I know he drives a lot of people crazy with not scoring and hitting the post every time he makes a shot or shoots the puck, excuse me. But he's definitely going to be on this team in some form. The coaching staff has always liked him. Sid has always liked playing with him. He's never said a bad word about him while he's been on his line. So I think people are going to have to get used to that when they start seeing the cuts and all that, because I do think he will be on this team and potentially in the top 12 when the season begins.
Yeah, the truth is, whenever the team's fully healthy, I want Dom Simone in that fourth line spot. Just because of the defensive zone impact. And, I think it would make that line a little bit more offensive. Obviously, I'm so far into the Danton Heinen hype train that I think that he's going to play with Sid to start the year. And if that works, I think you'll see Dom down with Bluer and Aston Reese. I think that makes sense, just simply because you still have an impact player in your lineup in Dom Simone. And I think it bridges the PR gap of having him in the lineup between the fans and things of that nature. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense. You're hunting that. I don't know if he's going to be on the line to start with Sid, but say if one of the other two wingers struggles, which Jake Ensel and Brian Rust don't really struggle that often, but say they want to move Rust down to Gino's line and move Heinen up, that makes sense. We have to see how he does, but it looks like that they're pairing Heinen in the top 6 right now to give him a look. Obviously, they kind of have no choice just because the two-headed monster, they're out for the start of the season. Sid's only going to be out for a week, but I am also very high on the Danton Heinen train. I have him scoring around 40 to 45 to potentially 50 points this year, and being one of the seals of the offseason. So I would be all for that, to be honest. Maybe they even do a line of Heinen, Crosby, Zucker to really go full chaos there. That would be kind of funny that you can go Gensel, Malkin, Russ when the team is healthy. I don't know how fans would feel about that. It would be something different, but it would be kind of funny to do, to see how Sid would enjoy playing with those two players.
The truth is, and now, I've talked about this with other people. They'll never do it, but I think that the top line needs to be Gensel, Crosby, and Zucker.
Well, Danny would agree with you.
I know. I just, and I think the big thing is like, it's not even just to help Sid out. It's just to activate Jake more. Zucker can take that net front role and Jake can just shoot on the perimeter.
He has good underlying numbers with Gino. He's great with Sid. I don't really care where you put him. One of those two lines is good with me.
Yeah, I want Gensel, Malkin, Rust back in the worst way. Zucker can play with, he said, we know that. And then, it could be Danton Heinen, it could be Dom Simone, it could be Kapanen, anybody you want to throw up there at that third wheel spot on the right wing, just do it. Because, this team's unique in the sense of they look way better. In my opinion, they look better on paper this year than they did last year, simply because a lot of the guys they have are more versatile in terms of being able to play up in the lineup and whatnot.
I don't know if they're as deep. It's tough to say just because, you look at them not healthy right now and they're obviously not as deep, but you take away what they lost versus what they gained. I would say that last year's team honestly is a bit deeper just because of Jared McCann and Brandon Tanev, especially McCann. If he lights up a 50-point season with Seattle, I'm going to be mad online. I'm going to be pretty mad online that they made that trade just because they should not have done it in the first place. And he looked really good in the preseason debut for Seattle. But I think right now they're close to as deep. But if they're able to get another forward, as I said, probably about 10, 15 minutes ago, then they will be as deep. I like the McGinn signing. He's going to be really good. That's how you replace someone like Brandon Tanev. You know, you probably weren't going to do that with a Wilkes-Barre call up. That's fine. But how you replacing Jared McCann, that's the other big story. I think they're banking on Dan Heinen doing that. I mean, if he can give you a 45 to 50 point season, there's your replacement right there. I mean, he did it in Boston. Anaheim was so bad that no one really plays well there. So I don't really take that much into consideration. I've seen people say that this is going to be another Mark Jankowski thing. Don't see that at all. I mean, this player's a lot more talented, I think. And I think he was on the ice for 90% of the expected goal share in the first preseason game, according to Danny at least. But that is, I think, what they're banking on for their two replacements now. And if both of them play as well as they can, then I would say that the team is just as deep, if not deeper, than last year, especially also if they make a trade.
Yeah, and my big thing is with the whole replacing McCann. If you get more out of Zucker and you get more out of Kapanen,
yeah,
that's it right there. Like you've already done that, and whatever Dan Heinen does is house money at that point.
That would make sense too. I mean, if you can get Zucker to be one of my bold predictions, I said on the Locked On Penguins podcast, is that he's a 25 goal scorer this year.
Yeah,
he does that, or he pots 30. I mean, that solves a lot of their problems too. I mean, this is a player I think is ready to break back out. He said he stunk last year. You don't even have to look at the numbers to say that he stunk. You just watch the games and see that he was overthinking it in so many situations. But if he plays as good as I think he can this year, you said it there, that will help a lot as well. You get 25 goals from him, you get Heinen going at 45, 50 points, and you get McGinn scoring like he did last year to outpace Tanev. Suddenly the team looks a lot more dangerous than I think some people thought going into this year.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing we haven't touched on yet is the goalie situation. A lot of it's going to come down to goaltending. That's going to be something that has to come together down the stretch. And my hot take for the year is, they may not, Ron Hextall may not reward them with trading for a forward, but he may trade for a goaltender at the trade deadline.
If they're stinking it up 100%, they might be even before the deadline. They're really banking on Andy Chiodo to turn this around. I've heard nothing but good things about him. Josh Getzoff was on the podcast yesterday on Wednesday, said that he's a completely different goalie coach than Mike Buckley is. He's basically, sounds like he's a perfectionist. I've been reading in training camp that when Tristan Jarry or Casey Smith do something wrong, he's in their ear about it and making sure that doesn't happen again. And he's wanting them to be a lot better than they were last year. So they're really banking on that this hire is going to turn this around, because the way they played last year, that's not going to cut it, especially in the playoffs. And again, like I said, man, if one or both of them are stinking it up by the time the trade deadline rolls around, or even by December or January, he may give Dallas a call, because they have a lot of goalies down there right now, and see if they can pluck one out of there. I'm sure there'll be other situations that pop up with bad teams at that point that could potentially move a goalie. So that'll be one area to keep an eye on. They got to be better in shorthanded situations. I saw our good friend Jason said that, Tristan Jarry finished dead last in goal save above expected on the PK. I know your goalie is like the main thing on the PK, but even when your penalty kill stinks, you still need your goalie at times to bail them out. And he wasn't doing that last year. It was just a dumpster fire of a unit with all five of those skaters on the ice. So that it's really going to make or break the team this year. They got through it in the regular season at times. It got them a first place in the East Division, which I thought was the toughest division in hockey. But you're going to need to do that again this year if possible, and continue that level in the playoffs if they have any hope of going on a run here.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to be ready to roll, because, the Rangers are going to be dangerous. We don't know what the Flyers are going to be like. We're getting the Hurricanes back in the division, who are going to probably be one of the top three teams. They're running a slippery slope at this point. And it's like, one big move in the right or wrong direction is going to make or break them. And you made a great point about Dallas because they have 4 NHL caliber goaltenders right now, and I think they're trying to set it up where Jake Ottinger takes the reins and is like the main goalie. So that leaves Ben Bishop, Anton Hudobin, and Braden Holtby all just out on an island together, waiting for something to happen.
There's some good goalies down there. I mean, Hudobin would be the one I would look at. I mean, Ben Bishop, you can't stay healthy, which is the sad part. And Braden Holtby, I think, is washed at this point anyway. So if I had to pick one of theirs, I'd say Anton Hudobin would be the one that I would target if they need to do it at the time. Obviously, I think that's Ron Hextall's last resort at this point. He's banking on them being a lot better under Andy Chiodo. But if he needs to do something, Hudobin will be on the top of my list, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not going to be that guy, but it's only logical to say it. If Chicago's in the toilet and they need a goalie, I wouldn't be surprised if they go that route.
Yep. And I knew you were going to bring up the Fleury thing. I mean, I think they're going to be close to contending this year. I mean, I shouldn't even say contending. I think they should be on the cusp of a playoff spot just because they improved their team a little bit this offseason, even though I think that Seth Jones contract is disgustingly bad. But they got their captain back. They got Kane back. They got DeBrincat. They have Kirby Doc, who's going to be really good, I think, in this league for many years. But if they do struggle a lot of the season, I mean, that'll be in the back of a lot of Penguins fans' minds, that's for sure. And just so everyone's aware, his contract is up after this season. So, well, that there won't be any shortage of conversations once that contract is up.
I can't wait for the chaos that ensues whenever Fleury's contract goes up and then Pierre Maguire becomes the GM in Ottawa and buys out Matt Murray.
That I could see that happening for sure.
I think it's a pretty much a no doubter unless he completely just flips it this year.
Yeah, Matt, I'm rooting for him. He got a lot of crap from the fan base, which I didn't really care for, but I'm hoping he seemed like he put on 20, 25 pounds. So I'm hoping he has a good year, even though the Senators, Eugene Melnick can say all he wants that they're going to contend for a playoff spot. You look at that division, that's not happening. So
no chance. They'll be a lottery team for sure. And who knows, they might get lucky and fall ass backwards into Shane Wright.
Yeah. And I don't want to see him there. I'd rather see him go to an actual decent organization.
I mean, I think out of all the organizations that are potentially going to be a lottery team, Ottawa's probably the best because you don't want them to go to Arizona. You don't want them to go to Buffalo.
San Jose could be really bad.
That would be nasty.
They actually, I mean, him and Tomas Hertl, if Hertl resigns, would be pretty nice. They still got Couture there. Their defense, I know, is so old, but I don't really think they're going to be any good, though. I mean, Anaheim, you probably don't want him to go there. Do you want him to go to Detroit? I mean, Jacob Vrana is out for 4 months, so they're going to be a lottery team again, too.
Dude, that sucks for him, though, because, he's probably going to score 35 to 40.
He was on a roll, man. I actually really felt bad for him.
Yeah, it's a shame for him because I feel like he's been through so much and he finally got to a point where it looked like he was going to have some semblance of success. And right there, it's just taken away from him in a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Now, have you been paying attention to anything else around the league, with preseason stuff or no?
Nothing really. I don't really pay attention to the other games.
You just do? Okay.
I saw Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl lit up the Kraken the other night, which was kind of funny.
Did you see Michael Bunting scored a hat trick for the Leafs?
I did not see that. Who's that?
Dude.
Was that against the Habs?
This was last night. They were playing Ottawa.
Oh.
He scored 3 goals and all 3 of them were on the power play.
Well, Ottawa shouldn't have given them that many power play chances. But that's hilarious, though.
I'm excited. I'm low key excited just watch the Leafs a little bit this year because I think they might have figured out that forward depth thing.
We'll see. I mean, it's the Leafs are always the big joke around here, but they are a deep team. I mean, you're probably not going to have a lot of help from Wayne Simmons. I mean, Jason Spezza can still go a little bit. But I like what they have. It's just putting it together. They made a lot of change. They made some goalie changes. Both those guys. I mean, Jack Campbell is still there, but Antti Raanta is a start, right? They signed him.
No, they signed Peter Mrazek.
No, Peter Mrazek. I was like, yeah, I forgot.
Yeah,
I think Raanta went to
Carolina.
Carolina. Yeah, I mixed them up. Yeah,
Mrazek. That's why it happened. You're good.
Yeah, it's like I mix both those up. But yeah, I mean that's right because Raanta and Freddie Anderson went to Carolina. So Mrazek's there, and that should be interesting. I don't know how that goalie situation is going to go, but they have a good team. It's just a matter of getting the results and finally pushing through against some really good teams.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, And speaking of teams who I think can push through really good teams, I think that the Kings are ready to make that jump. I think it's close.
They're right there. I like the Philip Deneau signing. He's one of the best shutdown centers in hockey. His expected goals are, I think, around 55, 56%. Defensively, nothing really gets past him. He was on that shutdown line, I'm pretty sure, with Gallagher and it was Deneau, Gallagher, and
wasn't Lehkonen?
It might have no, I don't think it was Lehkonen. I don't think it was Miami either. I think it was. I thought Suzuki was on that line, but I'm not sure. But I know he was on the line with Gallagher. They were just disgustingly filthy.
I think it was Paul Byron.
It might have been.
I think that's probably who it was. But yeah, I think and they're in a
traded for Arvidsson, who probably is going to have a better year than he showed in Nashville. Yeah. I think Drew Downey stinks, but if he has a little more left in the tank, that would be cool. Cal Peterson is a decent goalie. Kopitar's still rolling. I mean, he's a bit older, but he can still play. Ride Dustin Brown for as long as he can go. I think Alex Iafallo still there? Or did
he signed an extension to stay there.
Yeah, so he's a good player.
You're gonna have Byfield and Turcotte both.
If Byfield makes the team, which I think he will at this point. I think one of my bold predictions was that in the Pacific. Well, what was my bold prediction? I think I had Calgary missing, but Vancouver and LA getting in with Edmonton and Vegas.
Okay.
I think that's my prediction right now for the Pacific. I don't trust any of those other teams, but the Flames are also like the most average team in the league, and I think the Kings they're definitely ready to get going. They've done a nice rebuild. I think Rob Blake has done a nice job selling off his bad assets for just draft picks and all that. He's done it right. They made that change. They got rid of Darryl Sutter. They've gotten the new coach. They needed to retool and get that fresh wave of talent right as Kopitar and Doughty are at the end. And then once they retired, all those guys can continue to play. So they got them some help. I don't think they're a contender, but I think they'll push for a spot this year. If not this year, they'll make it next year, I think.
Yeah. And if they don't make it this year, they're still going to have another top 15 pick in a deep draft, which is only going to help them.
Rob Blake will nail it anyway, and he can sell off assets for whatever he wants. He's been really good at that.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else you want to touch on or thinking about?
I don't think there's anything more I have. Just, excited. We got 13 days to the start of the season. It's coming up quick, man. October starts tomorrow. Can't wait to do this till April, May, hopefully run until June. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to it too. Looking forward to taking that next step. And anything else big you got coming up on Locked On Penguins? I know that you just had an interview with Josh Getzoff. Everybody should go listen to that.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's definitely more than ready to fill in for Mike Lang full time now. It's going to be a lot different. But it sounds like he's going to bring his own catchphrases in. It would be wrong for, to use Mike's stuff, but what a great down to earth person. And I think he's going to kill it on there. Definitely go listen to that. Definitely have some preview stuff, I think, coming up on the podcast. Going to try to squeeze in some more guests before the season. But you can follow the show at LO_Penguins, wherever you get podcasts. And you can follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodies.
Awesome, Hunter. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Alrighty, guys. This has been another episode of For Checking TV. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at For Checking TV. Subscribe to us on YouTube and look for us wherever you get your podcast from. All right, guys. Thank you.